Hello, this is Ozan Uzun from IBM Power Systems, and this is my second video about SAP HANA replication. In this example, I will be doing the exact scenarios as in the video 1 with the SUSE cluster solution. I will skip the cluster setup and installation, but I will focus on the crash scenario, and I will do failover and a failback. This is my setup. It's a scenario actually. In Istanbul data center, there is a 2-node SUSE cluster, and in Ankara there is another standalone machine, and I will be doing async replication to the third machine. So this is my cluster overview. This is from CLI, this is from Hulk GUI, and there is the last option which I like most, the pacemaker GUI. Cluster is already set up, so let's add the disaster side. We will be doing an async replication because it's another city and the bandwidth is not enough. Okay, this is SUSE 1, that one is SUSE 2, and the last one is SUSE 3. Let's register the SUSE 3 to the second node. This second node will be the source and the third node will be the target. So first I should enable the replication on the second node. By the way, the primary is the node 1. I need to stop the database before registering to the second node. Let's call the other side Ankara. I am registering it to the second node. It is done. Start the database. Even though this is the first node, when I run the replication command, monitoring command, you will see that every node in this replication chain is aware of each other. So SUSE 1 to SUSE 2 and SUSE 2 to SUSE 3. You can see the sync and async options. And one last thing, check the cluster GUI. I want to validate that everything in the cluster works just fine. Everything is green and we are good to go for crash tests. Let's crash the first cluster node by sending a kernel panic. I will send a kernel panic and crash the first node, and this cluster will make it auto failover to the second node, and we will see what happens. Okay. I repeat, my first node, node 1 is the primer node, the second one is the replica. Okay, let's send the system trigger. And it is gone. Let's ping it. Oh, sorry, I didn't press enter. Let's press enter. It is gone. First node is down. Let's see how fast the SUSE cluster reacts, and you can see it's pretty fast. The resources are down. It's acknowledged. Up. The virtual IP is on the other node. See, the master is SUSE2. Yes. If you look carefully to the CRM mon output, let's check if the database connection is available. If you can connect to the database. It is working just fine. If I check the replication status now, you can see the first sync replication is gone. The only replication that works is the async replication to the other side. The first node is up now. I skipped the cleaning part. Let's start the cluster services again. I never configured to auto start. Everything seems fine. The virtual IP is on the second node now. As you can see, it starts on SUSE2. Let's refresh the hub GUI, and you will see that it is now running on the second node. The certificate is a different one. Even though everything seems green here, the replication will be not running in between the database nodes, and I will explain why. You see, the sync replication is not there because there is one parameter called automated register. For making this setup work, I need to put the automated automated register false, because it's a three-side replication. Now the node 1 is up, and I need to add it back to the sync chain. Cluster is up. What's the state? I need to clean this up. But before that I should put it in the maintenance mode, because the cluster can interrupt my work. Let's copy paste this. Let me show you something. I would like to connect to the second node again. But you see, it is not working because one primary node can only be source for one system. So I can only register it to this third node. This is the limitation of HANA replication. So you should be very careful with third site replications and SUSE cluster, because if the automated register setting was true, then the cluster will try to do exactly the thing that I am trying to do now, and it will be not working properly, and we will get issues. Let's clean up. I'm desperately trying to run it, and you can see the error. Primary, secondary, and async. Only system replication chains are allowed with the additional async secondary site. So, you see? Let's change it. Okay, I enabled the third node as a source, and I change it from SUSE 1 to SUSE 3, from SUSE 3 to SUSE 2. Here, let's register the first node. Again, async. Start the database on the first node. So it's from SUSE 2 to SUSE 3 to SUSE 1. From SUSE 2, both SUSE 3 and SUSE 1 will not work. Let's check the replication status. Everything is active, but everything is async. So it might not suit your needs. Careful with cluster. You can just exit the maintenance mode and double check if the cluster services are all up and green. It's time for disaster recovery. Crash the Istanbul site boot node and make a disaster recovery. Goodbye, cluster. I will miss you. Let's check if this node is up. That was the third node. Second node. Okay, cluster is down. Both nodes are down. Let's assume it's really a disaster, and we have our disaster site ready. We will check if the database connection is available. It took some time, so I pause it. So HTTP info. Very important, check if it is really responding or not. Yes. So the primary systems are down, and I am working from the disaster side. Now that my SUSE nodes in Istanbul are up, I need to fail back to my primary node, but I will be not starting my database first. If they are stopped, let's stop them. So there are some sites here. So I try to unregister Istanbul 2, which succeed, and there is also Istanbul 1. So actually I'm doing a cleanup, so I want everything clean. Oh, sorry. Let's register this guy. Just remove else Istanbul and call it Istanbul 1. Okay. I registered this as source node and SUSE 1 as my slave. I call it slave, but start the database. Maybe pause it. Okay, I registered it and I am waiting it to complete its syncing. Save point pending. What I will do is I will do the takeover to SUSE 1, clean up everything, and I will start a sync replication in between SUSE 1 and SUSE 2. It means I will be doing my first initial setup again. Right, it is slow, sorry. Okay, it took 3 minutes to complete, so it is active. Now it's time for me to take over. Let's pause it again. Now my first node is my primary node. Let's double check if it's working, because I am doing lots of operations and I need to check the integrity. Oh, but that's okay. Now I need to stop. I need to re-register SUSE 2 as a secondary system for SUSE 1. Okay, let's enable it if it's already not enabled. Okay. Let's check everything is fine with this second machine, because I am constantly rebooting and crashing them. So I am trying to make a sync. Why is not progressing? Oh, sorry. It is running on the second node, which will be also the node in the same cluster. Remote host SUSE1, remote instance 00, replication mode sync, be careful, and name Istanbul 2. Yes. You see? I did a full, I did the sync replication, and it is making a full replica because it's starting for the first time and everything is clean up. If some data is changed in the DR side, it will be replicated to the second node, so it's quite fast. Let's play with cluster. It took some time for me to fix this because it was a full crash. The cluster went a little bit off limits, so I needed to clear the Stoneit devices. After that, I can't start the databases, but the HANA was not no, the SUSE cluster was not initializing my resources, and when I tried to start the second node, it was trying to stop everything again. So what I did was actually clean up everything, start the let me show you, start the replication again, and ensure that it's in a sync status. Both nodes are okay after the cleanups, and the cleanup you can do on the GUI, or you can just run this command, cleanup crm resource list. You can just say cleanup, and you just say, for example, this resource was my problematic one, so I did a cleanup. Actually, I did it a couple of times. And the magic trick with SUSE cluster is you have to wait like 5 minutes after the crash that it will get everything properly. And actually it's also documented in the official documentation. There is a part that do's and not do's, so it will, where is it, it will say, please don't reboot it frequently, don't play with resources because it will take some time. So now I am back with my first initial setup. What it was, preview, is I have two nodes, they are cluster, they are sync replicated. Now I will be adding the third node, which is in another city. So on the second node I should enable on the third node. Let me prepare the chat window. Let me prepare node. Okay. Fail register is, where are the registers? Okay. What was SUSE2 from to I will show you again. I will start replication from SUSE3. It will get the data from node 2. So that will be a secondary site. Actually, it will be like 1, 2, 3 as it was in the beginning. So async and call it Ankara. Okay. Okay, HTTP start, and I will check the chain. I call it chain from the first node. It's just started it. Let me get a couple of seconds, and you can see that we are back to the beginning with everything just running just fine, and it is, I think, let me show you the first one. This is not this one. We have one data center in Istanbul, SUSE cluster, sync replication, and async replication to the third node in another city. So up, nice.